What's up, everyone? How's it going? Ryan here, back again with a special episode of This Week in Hearthstone. This is episode number 5. I just got back from Blizzcon a few uh, hours ago, I guess. It's pretty local to my house, so I've been kind of chilling. I do want to preference this episode by just saying I apologize if my voice is not on point or if my energy is not as high level. Pretty long weekend of doing things around the convention center and all that good stuff. So I do apologize if I'm not up to speed or if my voice kind of sounds a little bit weird or just a lack of energy. I am pretty tired, even though I got a good solid sleep. It does feel like my body is like realizing what happened and what I put it through. So if I do have to take a little bit more breaks for water or whatever it is, then I do apologize. So just wanted to do this special episode because Hearthstone is going to get pretty, or at least this week in Hearthstone and Hearthstone in general is going to get a lot of news coming up probably soon. And already at BlizzCon, we had about 20 card announcements that ended up happening. And so because of that, I didn't want to make the episode super long on Thursday just in case even more cards are announced. So I did want to go through the announcements today with you guys in this special episode. Just purely focus on the BlizzCon announcements and the cards that were announced there as well. And then starting on Thursday, and the following Thursdays, episodes might be a bit longer for about a month or so until the expansion is released. And then we'll go back to the normally scheduled programming. Before we start, though, as always, don't forget to follow and subscribe to us on Spotify and iTunes. It's the best way to keep up to date with us and to get all the information you need from an audio standpoint. If you follow or subscribe as well, keep in mind that you will be able to download the episodes automatically or get a notification automatically when a new episode is live on either of those platforms. So keep that in mind. Also, I will say for audio listeners, you may want to head over to Shigeo's Twitch TV, SHIGEOS Twitch TV, all one word, all lowercase, or twitch.tv/Ryan Kubo, all lowercase, no spaces, because I will be talking about the cards that are coming out. I will try my best to show off the cards, talk about the cards, and give you as much detail. But if you guys are visual learners, you may want to go there because when I do stream, I do record it for VODs and everything. So if you need the visual for these cards, yeah, that'll be a lot easier. But at the same time, I will try my best to appease to you audio people and explain to you what the cards are. Anyway, so let's get started. Just a quick reminder before we really get into the meat of the potato things. Reminder that it is a new month, so that means a new season is starting in Hearthstone, which means that it is season 56, and it is called the Moon, or the card back you get is called the Moonwell themed card back. So it's it just says this month the Night Elves are getting some more love with Moonwell card back. Win 5 ranked games in November, and you'll receive your very own place to keep some water for the Well of Eternity. So keep that in mind. It's probably the last. Oh, it's not probably. It is the last season for the Boomsday meta. So keep that in mind. Remember to jump in. Just win 5 games in either Wild ranked or Standard ranked, and you will get your card back. So keep that in mind. I'll probably make a reminder sometime at the end of the month as well to remind you guys if you didn't do so already. Well, that being said, let's move on to the meat and potatoes of what we're all here for this podcast for. BlizzCon 2018 was this past weekend, and we got some announcements of Hearthstone. Pretty much everything that you would expect from a Hearthstone announcement. They didn't announce any UIs or anything like that, but they did announce that there is a new expansion coming out. So pretty much what everyone expected there to be. So just quick overview of that. It is called Rosticon's Rumble, a troll-themed expansion set in, I think, Stranglehorn Vale. The expansion launch date is going to be December 4th. So keep that in mind that that's coming up pretty soon. So definitely save that gold and stuff as well. They did announce a couple of things as well briefly. They announced that there's 135 new cards. There is a new keyword called overkill, which means if you deal more damage than you need to kill a minion, you get a bonus. One of the cards that we'll be going into later is a weapon that has 4 attack. And let's say you kill a Serenite, and it has the text that reads, you may attack again. So, because it has 4 attack, if you kill anything that has 3 or less health, for example, a Serenite Chain Gang, it will activate and you'll be able to use the weapon again. So that is the new keyword. Pretty interesting. Gives a bonus if you overkill, which makes sense, pretty self-explanatory. There's also a new, I guess, card mechanic, or cards in general, called spirits, and they're a type of minion that each class has, and they get to stay stealth for 1 turn. All spirits are, I guess, class-based, at least from what we know. We do not know if there's any neutral ones, and they are all rare. So keep in mind that they will be 2 in every deck if people decide to run those. And then also there's these legendary class cards called Loa, which are pretty much the gods or spiritual ancestors of the class, and they are all very unique as well. We'll be getting into those soon. A couple of things to remember. The freebies for Razakan's Rumble will be a legendary class card and 2 spirits for your Loa's class, and 6 card packs. There's no word if this is going to be RNG or whatever, but say that you get a Paladin or something like that, you will get the Paladin Loa class legendary, and then you will get 2 rares for that Paladin class because it randomly gave you Paladin. No confirmation if you'll be able to pick and choose your Loa, or if it's just going to be you log in on launch day or the week of launch, and you'll be able to get those randomly, right? So we'll have to see from there. Also, kind of the last thing that they announced about it is that there is 2 bundles coming out for Rastakon's Rumble. You can either buy one of them or you can buy both of them. So the first one is called the Challengers Bundle. You'll get a card back that's called Ready to Rumble, and you'll get 17 card packs, and that will cost you $20. For $50, you will get an alternate Shaman hero called King Rostakon, so kind of like the same thing they did with Mechadrax's last expansion, just a cosmetic new hero. And you will get 50 card packs, and the card back. So those are the 2 deals that you can get for pre-ordering. Obviously, it does seem like they're going with a compare and contrast model, and they're just like, get the $50 one. The $20 one is not as worth it, right? Because that gives you 17. So it's like a comparing contrasting, definitely to boost people up to go to the Rastakhan Rumble so you can get the alternate hero and all that stuff. Keep in mind that Hearthstone has never really brought back alternate heroes or card backs before, so if you do not pre-order the $50 bundle, you most likely will never see the alternate hero again. So keep that in mind if you want to spend your money. Like I said earlier, save your gold as well. So we have a ton of cards that were announced. We had 4 cards that were announced at the opening ceremony, and then we have 12 other cards that were announced during a What's New panel. What I plan to do is just kind of go through each one of them one by one. 99% of these cards I have never seen before, so I'll give you guys a description of the card, talk about it for a bit, and just give what my first thoughts or initial thoughts of that card are. So just keep that in mind, that most likely I'll be wrong on a lot of my card reviews and a lot of the cards that we are seeing. First up, we have a new Paladin legendary card called Shirvala the Tiger. It is a beast minion. It's costs 25 mana, has 7 attack, 5 health. It has a card text that reads Divine Shield, Rush, Lifesteal. Costs 1 less for each mana spent on spells. I don't think that this card is going to be very good. It's pretty cool that it costs 1 less for each mana you spent on spells, but Paladin spells are not. They're good, but since it starts at 25 mana to play, you would need to play a good bulk of mana to get this card down on the board. Once it's down on the board, because it's a minion and it's a beast, I feel like there's going to be a lot of ways to counter it, especially Loa decks. are going to, I don't know, be pretty counterable, I think. Unfortunately, I don't think that the Loas are going to take off, but maybe they will. Unfortunately, though, it does seem like it's going to be, if it can get returned to your hand in some way or somehow, you're pretty much going to have like a dead card in your hand. So, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's going to be that playable. Next up, we have another card called Sulzars. It's a 6 mana 4/4 warrior weapon, and it's an epic. And the card text says overkill. You may attack again. So this is the card that I was kind of talking about earlier, where if you kill something and you overkill it, you're able to swing it again. It reminds me of Fool's Bane, and a little bit more expensive, I believe, than Fool's Bane. But I think that this will actually be a pretty good card in general. I definitely think that warriors need those weapons in their decks, and I think this is going to be one of the staple weapons that is definitely going to be around and utilized a lot by them. Next up, we have a neutral card called Sharkfin Fan. He is a 2 mana common pirate card with 2 attack and 2 health, with the card text that reads, after your hero attacks, summon a 1/1 pirate. From what the comments said and from what I initially think of the card, I think that it will be pretty good for maybe Arena, but I'm not really sure how well it will be for Constructed. I don't know. Maybe we'll get another type of pirate meta again. But just kind of a side note as well, a lot of this expansion is like trolls and pirates as well, I guess. So I don't know how well this card will do. It's a pretty fun card. I feel like it will be in a lot of like trolled in like fail videos or whatever, but I don't see it being very playable in competitive, or in standard, I guess you could say. I could definitely see it being used in arena, but it's overall I think it's a meh card. Next up, we have a new rogue card, and it's Spirit of the Shark. The 4 mana rare, 0 attack, 3 health, and this is one of those spirits, right? With the card text that reads stealth for 1 turn. Your minions' battle cries and combos trigger twice. I think that if this was a little bit cheaper, it would be a really, really good card, obviously. But for 4 mana, we're looking at something that's somewhat kind of pricey and kind of balanced, to be honest. I think that's definitely above average card, and it's nice that it's stealth for 1 turn, so I'll be able to overwhelm the board pretty quickly. But I think that it's above average for sure. Somewhat balanced as well. I think just the combos trigger twice is going to be super, super good, and I think they were worried about it being in Odd Rogue, because obviously it's an even card, so it will not be utilized in that. Alright, let me get up the next 4 cards for you guys. Taking them 4 at a time. So, next up is a card called Spirit of the Bat. It's a Warlock card, and it is a 2 mana 0/3. Just FYI, all Spirit cards are rare, and they are also 0 attack, 3 health. But this one is also stealth for 1 turn. After your friendly minions die, give a minion in your hand 1/1. Yeah, I don't really care or like hand buff Warlock, right? I just never really preferred it that much. I don't think that this card is going to be utilized very much at all, and I definitely think that it's going to be some type of like fun type of utilized deck or whatever. The comments are kind of talking about that as well, but you're looking at something that like Zoo is aggro, and that's what a lot of people play. So you're not looking at something that is going to be utilized in that way as all. Even in Even Warlock, I don't see a place for this. I could be wrong, but yeah, overall, doesn't seem like a very good spirit. Next up, we have a new Warlock legendary card. It's Hierarch the Bat. It is a 8 mana legendary beast with 1 attack and 1 health, with the card text that reads Battle Cry. Fill your board with copies of this minion. Once again, I think that this is trying to utilize the card that we just saw previously, the Spirit of the Bat, to be able to like just summon a bunch of these, right, and have them like continually buffed up. It seems that like from the cards they're showing off at least, the mechanic they're trying to go with Warlock this time around is hand buff Warlock or something weird like that. Once again, don't think that this card is going to be good at all. When there was like the discard Warlock or whatever back in the day with the quest, it wasn't that good because there was kind of no point in completing the quest because you could usually kill your opponent before then. Um, so for me, this doesn't seem like it's going to be a good legendary at all. I would almost say this is almost like an instant dust. I also want to kind of jump in here and also comment that keep in mind that a lot of these cards as well are just here to show off like new mechanics. So a lot of the cards that we're getting from this first reveal are not going to be anything that are going to be like super impressive. Next up, we have a new priest spell called Surrender to Madness. It's a 3-mana spell. It has a card text that says, destroy 3 of your mana crystals, give all minions in your deck +2/+2. I think that this card is going to be like really, really good. I don't know though how you're able to destroy 3 of your, or okay, I understand what it's saying. Sorry, it's kind of like the opposite of like a nourish or whatever. So for 3 mana, let's say you have 10, you play this on 3, which isn't going to happen. But you would go back down to 7 mana, and then you would have to regain those mana crystals over the next 3 turns. But it gives all your minions in your deck +2/+2. I think that this could be actually it's hard to say, right? This is going to be one of those cards that's either really, really, really good, and we're going to see some type of like aggro priest or something like that, or it's going to be really, really, really bad. Because for 3 mana, you're getting a huge benefit, and I think that benefit does outweigh the cost of what it sacrifices you, but it does sacrifice you 3 mana crystals, and you lose a ton of tempo, right? You have +2/+2 and everything in your deck, when already like cards like Kaliseth give like, whatever buffs. So I think that this might be really, really good, but I wouldn't be surprised if this card just comes out and it's just complete trash. I'm going to say it's above average for sure, borderlining on a really, really good card. So we'll have to see what Priest has to offer us as well. And to be fair, Priest does have a lot of like tempo type of stuff with like its healing and its stabilization, so it might be a good card to have. Next up, we have a new Paladin card, Immortal Prelate, the 2-mana epic minion, 1 attack and 3 health. That says Death Rattle. Shuffle this into your deck. It keeps any enchantments. It's pretty much just an Astral Tiger, right? It could be really good with Call to Arms, but I don't think that this card's gonna be good at all. It's gonna be part of like some type of deck though, where it just keeps funneling these things over and over and over and over again until like you just opponent. I can definitely see this being like a fun deck to play, but I don't think that this is going to be a deck or a card that's going to be in any type of like really serious deck. All right, let me get the next 4 up for you guys. Next up, we have a Warlock spell. It's an 8-mana epic called Void Contract with the card text that reads, destroy half of each player's deck. I think that this is like a disguised toast card or whatever. I don't think that, like, why would a Warlock want to destroy half of each player's deck? I don't really see what the usefulness of this would be. I just think it's a meme card, to be honest. I can't think off the top of my head there's any scenario where I'd want to destroy half of my deck and half of my opponent's deck, especially since I'm usually the one hitting fatigue first because of life tapping and stuff like that. So, cool concept, cool card, but I definitely think that this is an epic you wouldn't want to get. Next up, we have a druid card called Savage Striker. 2 mana, 2/3 common minion with the card text that reads Battlecry. Deal damage to an deal damage to an enemy minion equal to your hero's attack. So, I mean, it's going to be really good if you have something like Bite, if you have something where you hero power first and you can get that 1 damage off or whatever, or you have Claw or something that already buffs up their attack a lot, or Savage Roar or whatever. I think that it's going to be a really good card for like late game, but it's not going to have any usefulness in the early game as well. Overall, though, I think that it's a pretty good card and can be utilized pretty well, though, in general. Next up, we got some new Hunter cards. We got 1 mana, 1 attack, 1 health, beast minion called Spring Paw with the card text that reads Rush, Battlecry. Add a 1/1 links with Rush to your hand. Yeah, I think that this is going to replace something like Alley Cat or some of the 1/1s that hunters are desperately needing right now. Since cards are going to be rotating out or whatever, but and also with Dire Maul and stuff like that. But yeah, I like that they're bringing back the rush mechanic. I think that we kind of all assumed that it would be a mechanic that they would be reusing over and over and over again, which is good. One of the things I have in Hearthstone is that they introduce a mechanic and then it's never reused again because they want to keep it to the uniqueness of that set. It's fine, but I do like this. Yeah, I think that it's gonna, it's not gonna be an OP card, but I think it's gonna be a very good card. Just play it on turn one, like a Firefly, right? Even if you don't get that rush value out, it's fine. If you do, then awesome. But overall, good card. Next up, we have a new hunter spell called Baited Arrow. It's a 5-mana common spell. It says, with the card text that reads, deal 3 damage, overkill, summon a 5/5 Devil Sword. People are saying that this card is like bad, but I think that this is actually one of the best cards in the set so far for a spell or whatever. It costs a little too much, is my concern, but for 5 mana, you're dealing 3 damage on probably a low priority target or something that has low health, right? As long as it has 2 health or less, like it's really hard. You would have to be 2 health or less, but then if you do summon a 5/5 Devil Sword. I want to say it's average. I depends on what type of deck you're really playing against. I don't know how right I am on this one, but I do feel like overkill is meant to bait and kill, like aggro or whatever, right? Because there's punishments for reoccurringly, or overkill, benefits low health minions for the most part, right? They're not going to make like a super strong overkill, like 7 or 8 attacks, and then anything with 7 health or lower, you get the overkill, right? They're going to do it to people who have really, or minions that have lower attacks. So I feel like it's to counter aggro. That being said, I think that it's average. I think it could be really good though in the right circumstances, but I'm going to play it on the safe side and say this is an average type of card. All right, let me get the last 4 cards up here. So next up we have a new shaman spell called Reign of Toads. It's 6 mana. It's a common rarity. It has the card text that says summon 3/2/4 toads with taunt. Overload 3. Uh Comments are saying one thing, I'm kind of feeling another thing or whatever. The first thing that you think of when you see this card is I'm going to need Mossy Horror, right? Because of its ability, and that Shaman gets Spraying Plague, which is going to upset a lot of people, including myself. I think overall it's going to be pretty good in like Shudderwalk decks to stall them out and stuff like that, because now Shaman has something other than Serenite Chain Gangs to be able to stall out to get their Shudderwalk out, and it overloads by 3, which overload isn't that much of a punishment anyway, because you're most likely going to be using, like, yeah. I think that this card is above average. I think it's pretty decent. And I could definitely see it being slid into certain decks, especially Shadowwalk. Next up, we have a new mage card called Pyromaniac. Side note, if you guys, like I said, listening in audio, this guy's like goblin with like a fireball in his hand, fire torch, and his hair is on fire. He looks really cool. The card art for this looks really neat. But it's a 3 mana, 3/4 or rare minion. With the hero power with the card text that says whenever your hero power kills a minion, draw a card. Probably not worth it, unfortunately. It's probably going to be really good in arena, but to play this for 3 mana, have this on the board. The stats are like average, and then the effect it has whenever your hero power kills a minion, draw a card. So most likely like a 1 mana ping, or like 1 damage ping, like then you draw a card. It will be really good in arena, I think. I don't think that this is a constructed card though at all. Next up we have a mage legendary minion called Hexlord Malacress. It is a 8 mana 5/5 with the card text that reads Battle Cry. Add a copy of your opening hand to your hand, except this card. I think that this could be good. I really do, because you're going to be playing this in the late game, which is fine. But then, depending on what turn you go, right, you're going to be able to draw either 3 cards or 4 cards. I'm assuming, and I don't know confirmation on this. Maybe someone can tell me in the future, but I'm assuming that this will also add the coin to your hand if you got in second, which is pretty valuable in mages. I can see this being played. It's kind of like just card generation, and card generation is always fairly powerful in Hearthstone, and so I would say that it's something that could be utilized definitely in mages. I would give this an above average. The last card we ended up getting is a rogue spell called Cannon Barrage. It's 6 mana and epic rarity, and has a card text that says deal 3 damage to a random enemy. Repeat for each of your pirates. Don't know why, but they're doing like pirate rogue or something like that. We don't know all the pirate sets yet. That's the problem. So we don't know how good that this card is going to be, how many pirates rogue are going to get, etc. But yeah, I think that and also it says random enemy, right? So that's one of the things as well, is that it doesn't say minion. So if it says enemy, that means it can go face as well. So for whatever reason, you have a ton of pirates on board. They don't have many minions on the board. You play this, you could do up to like 21 damage, right? And most of that could go face possibly. Be really good. So I think that this card is going to be good, but it all depends on what type of new pirate synergy we get for Rogue this time around. But yeah, guys, that is it for the 16 cards that were announced for Rostacon's Rumble so far. Like I said, if you are an audio listener, I would highly suggest going to the show notes and checking out the websites that I use to get these cards. Or I would suggest going to my VODs on Twitch or YouTube. Check those things out as well. We will be getting more cards over the next coming weeks, since the expansion does come out in a month. So every Thursday we'll have a little section here where we'll talk about the new cards, obviously. Probably save it for last. I did want to do one last thing, though. The last article for the day is that they did detail the upcoming solo content during a keynote, and it was pretty cool. It looks pretty neat. Definitely go check out the show notes for the full details of this panel at BlizzCon, because on top of talking about the new solo mode in Hearthstone, they did take a look back at the old school adventures and kind of went through like their design concepts, what they try to do when they make a solo adventure, etc. And there's so much that there's so many notes that were taken for it. It would be so long to talk about. So we're only going to talk about the meat and potatoes. But if you guys would like to read up on that, definitely check out the show notes. But yeah, so Rumble Run is what it's called. That's the new solo adventure that's going to happen in Rostacon's Rumble. And it will release on December 13th, 9 days after the expansion launch. So there's a mechanic in the solo content called Shrines, and they're passive. They sit on the board, giving you a special effect. They can be destroyed, but they will respawn after 3 turns. Like other solo content recently added to Hearthstone, successful wins lets you add more cards to your deck's run. And so, yeah, they really want to celebrate each of their team's classes. Overpowered fights had to be done. You will fight 8 opponents, all the other teams. Each team has 3 shrines and 3 champions, so your runs won't always be the same, right? So if you choose Shaman, there's 8 more classes left, right? And then you'll go and face off against all those other classes. Ricard is your champion you play. He evolves over the run. He doesn't have a team to start with. That's up to you. So then you choose a team, choose all that type of stuff. You earn prize fighters for successful clears, and then you pick your own teammates as well. So hero cards put in your deck, etc., etc. And if you were at BlizzCon, they allowed you to play in the Champions series or something, which was basically just this Tavern Brawl. So Tavern Brawl version of this solo content will be coming to the general public and outside of BlizzCon. Yeah, I actually did play the Tavern Brawl version at BlizzCon. It's pretty fun. Got to play against a friend and also got to play against some random people. Did about 3 or 4 times just because the matches go pretty fast. You guys have never been to BlizzCon before. When they let you demo the game, they only allow you to play 1 game. and then you have to go back in line, which is fine, totally understand. But some games were pretty short. So I did about 3 or 4 times. There's definitely cards in here that seem pretty OP, and I'm not sure how many of the cards I saw were available are going to be in the actual main set. But they even warned you about that. They're like, cards you see like before you fight. They're like, cards you see here may or may not be in Rostacon's Rumble. So it was hard to tell what was in, what was not. I played a pretty interesting Warlock deck where I had a shrine that said that every time I take damage, it instead deals that damage to the opponent. So, for example, if I played Flame Imp, instead of it doing 3 damage to me, it would do 3 damage to the opponent. So that was pretty cool. I also played a Mage where my spell power was determined by how many cards I had in my hand, stuff like that. So it was pretty interesting to play, and it kind of gave me a little sneak peek or a little taste of what the solo content will be. But yeah, guys. Anyway, that was it for this special episode of This Week in Hearthstone. Just kind of wanted to go over everything really quickly with you guys and give you a special episode since the expansion just came out. I also didn't want Thursday's episode to get super, super long because we don't know what other announcements are going to be announced. Maybe Thursday's episode will be super short, but I'm glad I did this episode today. As always, guys, you can find me at various social media sites, but you can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram. All those are Ryan Kubo, RyanKubo, no spaces, all lowercase. If you would like to check out the VODs for this audio podcast, you can go to Shigeo's Twitch TV. That's all lowercase, no spaces, ShigeosTwitch TV. And of course, if you wanted updates on just This Week in Hearthstone itself, you can go check out the This Week in Hearthstone Twitter, which is at TWI Hearthstone. So, thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys so much for being here. Let me know through Twitter, through other social media, what you thought about Rostacon's Rumble. And we will be back with our regularly scheduled broadcast of This Week in Hearthstone this Thursday. Take it easy, guys. Peace.